We have a news alert coming in at this point in the broadcast. The U.S. Supreme Court has now overturned the historic Roe v. Wade ruling. Abortion could now become illegal in at least 22 U.S. states, ending 50 years of a massive precedent, which means that some 36 million women could lose access to abortion. Once again, we repeat, this is a news alert coming in. It's a story that we have been tracking on beyond. The Supreme Court in the U.S. has overturned the landmark Roe v. Wade judgment, holding that there is no longer a federal constitutional right to an abortion in America. This opinion is the most consequential Supreme Court decision in decades to come and will essentially transform the landscape of women's reproductive health in America. Remember, until now, abortion in the U.S. was guided by this very landmark Supreme Court case, that is Roe v. Wade. The 1973 case decided that access to abortion is a constitutional right. The 1992 ruling Planned Parenthood versus Casey further upheld this judgment, which said that women can get an abortion until the fetus is viable, and that's usually around 22 to 24 weeks. And now the latest update is that the Supreme Court in the United States has overturned the landmark judgment, holding that there is no longer a federal constitutional right for Americans to an abortion. Now, joining us now is VOA correspondent Jessica Stone, who has been reporting from outside the Supreme Court for us. Jessica, we were just discussing what this ruling, that time we were talking about the upcoming ruling. It's happened now, essentially. A landmark ruling has been overturned. Tell us about the mood outside the Supreme Court right now.
Well, yes, unfortunately, we had just left the air when the ruling was handed down by the U.S. Supreme Court. There is a lot of activity out here. It is much more protests and much more activity than there was yesterday when we prepared the report that we provided to you. But we are just seeing the music quiet down. It's not clear that everybody knows that there's a decision, but certainly because it's been issued online, it's very possible for people to do that.
Jessica, this obviously is a very sensitive, if not controversial subject in America. We've seen protests, some supporting abortion rights, some anti-abortion protesters. We saw a massive rally in California recently, even in the Sacramento. It seems we've lost our VOA correspondent. We'll continue to try and get her back. For now, this is a news alert coming in on this broadcast at this point. The Supreme Court in America has overturned the landmark Roe v. Wade judgment. Basically, what this means is that there is no longer a federal constitutional right in America, a right to an abortion. And the opinion is that the most consequential Supreme Court decision in decades. And this will transform women's reproductive health in America. Going forward, abortion rights will be determined by separate individual states. That's what this ruling means, unless, of course, Congress acts or intervenes. Already, nearly half of the states have or will pass laws that ban abortion, while others have enacted strict measures regulating the procedure. And in the last few weeks, we've seen protests on both sides of the debate. We've seen anti-abortion protesters take to the streets, while pro-choice protesters have also taken to the street. This is a topic that is highly sensitive and has divided Americans. And now the latest that we have is that the Supreme Court has overturned this judgment, which means there is no longer any kind of federal constitutional right to an abortion. As of now, abortion rights will be determined by separate individual American states unless Congress acts. Half the states already have or will pass laws that ban abortion, while others have enacted strict measures regulating the procedure. In recent days, we've seen security beefed up outside hospitals and clinics. Law enforcement agencies have been expecting more violence on the streets ahead of this judgment. And now the U.S. Supreme Court has essentially overturned the landmark Roe v. Wade judgment. Right, Jessica, we just spoke. Please let us know, what is the mood in America, where you're standing outside the Supreme Court right now, and what does this mean for the people of America?
Well, I want to read you a little bit of this decision because this is the critical question. The justices wrote in the majority opinion, the critical question is whether the Constitution properly understood confers a right to obtain an abortion. And the legal justification for that right was based on a right to privacy, which these justices also struck down. And what this means is that all of these decisions will now go back to state capitals. As you mentioned, 22 state capitals have some form of law against abortion rights in those states, and the state legislatures will now have to move to make this decision about legal or illegal abortion in their states. The interesting thing here is that, as you mentioned, 50 years of precedent, most Americans don't know of a time when they haven't had access to legal abortion procedures. So there are many people outside the court today that don't understand that this is a privilege and it is no longer a right under the U.S. Constitution. Priyanka?
Right, Jessica, thanks for those updates. WION World is One is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.